general thoughts and takeaways from game one. Lots to choose from last night's game in Indiana.
Yeah, I mean, well, we'll start with the positive. They got out to a great start, which...
Wait, what negatives are there?
There's some.
All right,
there's
sorry.
some. But I mean, the great start kind of overshadowed everything because that's what you got to do. Like they did against the Bulls, then you do that against the Pacers. Trevor Ariza, my goodness,
6 for 6.
just couldn't miss. So, but what's overshadowed with that? I mean, he shot well, but defensively, he did a great job on Paul George, forcing him into tough shots. And, when he's not doing well, the Pacers are going to struggle, even though they have some spark plugs in Stevenson. And then just John Wall did a great job managing the game in the half court. But second half, more so the third quarter, they kind of took the foot off the gas a little bit. I know they weren't shooting that well, but the Pacers kind of slowed things down and got, in the pace that they wanted to play. So, I mean, the Wizards didn't shoot great, 41%. They rebounded really good. That's what made up for it.
Killed them on the glass.
Yeah, that was big. So, I mean, the thing is, for them to play and look that good and not really play at their best, honestly. I mean, they didn't play bad, but not at their best. They've got to feel really good.
Dan, was last night the sort of we've seen flashes before out of Bradley Beal, but was that his first real step toward brilliance in this career on the big stage?
He's had brilliant performances in the regular season. I think with everyone watching, this was the time. This was when Paul George was calling him a superstar. This is when Charles Barkley is gushing over him, during halftime of the next game when people all over the country are watching this. I mean, the numbers that he's putting up in the playoffs at his age are virtually unprecedented.
Right.
Stuff that guys like Magic Johnson and Derrick Rose are the only guys who've done sort of some of these things he's doing. So, yeah, I mean, I don't necessarily agree with you, really. I think that, to me, like, if Roy Hibbert doesn't somehow become some semblance of what we thought he was, it's almost hard to imagine the Wizards losing this series, which is...
No, I didn't say they would lose. I just said they could play better.
I guess they can, but I never felt in the third quarter like they were on the verge of losing. Really, it just seemed like they were the better team. Even on the road, it just seemed like they were.
But that's where Beal,
when
it got to 6 points, that's when Beal hit those threes, which were just that was the
pushed it to 12 points. I think
it got him back to that comfortable margin.
Yeah, I mean, at times he certainly looked like he was the best player on the court.
Keith, we've talked about Charles Barkley's comments about the Wizards going way back to the All-Star break, where he was bullish on them then. And obviously, last night at halftime, he was already basically writing the series off. He said it's going to be a short series. Wizards are going to win. It's already, would you sort of agree based on the first game?
No, because a 7-game series can can change quickly.
Sure.
One game goes the other way, that momentum switches. But I think Indiana came into this series thinking that they'd already survived their tough test. They got past Atlanta. They'd shaken out the kinks. They're back at home,
right?
And they matched up better with the Wizards because they can go big for big. They match up well on the perimeter against the Wizards. They felt like it sounded like from their quotes that the Hawks was a kind of a fluke and just a bad matchup for them because they were such a good three-point shooting team that they'd be fine. And then at no point last night did they look like they were fine. I mean, that game never got closer than 6 points down the stretch.
Right.
So for them to have that bravado and then to play like they played last night, they certainly have to bounce back in game two. But on the flip side, if they do, they probably come in feeling pretty good about themselves once again.
Brandon, we can't get out of this segment without talking about Drew Gooden and his performance off the bench.
Yeah.
And how big was that? I mean, you could argue Drew Gooden was the X factor in this game beyond Bradley Beal and even, Nene.
Right, because he did what Trevor Booker had been doing off the bench earlier. But that's why I say that 4 or 5 days rest really did something big for the Drew Goodens, or if you throw Al Harrington in there, just having that fresh body, because he matches up really well with the Pacers. He's physical. He can stretch the floor. I mean, the Wizards do need a little bit more off their bench than just him, but that was huge what he did last night.
And I mean, and in their defense too, Dan. The first half, they held him to like 34 points, 36 points, something like that.
Great.
In the 30s.
I mean, they've been great defensively for a while now.
Right.
I think that's sort of probably nationally the most overlooked thing about this team. It's not just Wall and Beal. People talk about the backcourt all the time. People talk about Nene, but I mean, they've been a great defensive team for a long stretch now. And Indiana, like Chicago, has some offensive deficiencies, so I think that kind of works in the Wizards' favor.
Yeah, they had the 8 blocks too.
Yeah, I mean, and it was balanced scoring. I mean, the 25 and 22 from Beal and Ariza, but then down the line, all the starters are double digits. I mean, it was just, balanced scoring and stat sheet stuffing from all.
And how about
all
Randy
5 starters.
Whitman has never lost a playoff game on the road? He's 4-0. I mean, the only guys who've done that. What is it? Phil Jackson and Mike Dunleavy.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Right.
I think that's right.
It was two Lakers coaches. I mean, it's getting like.
Hey, let's just keep
inexplicable,
having
some of
fun.